Hello guys, and welcome to episode 1 of Random PyGame Tutorials with Nick. This series is going to be focused on doing tutorials in PyGame, which I'm very familiar with, but it's not just going to be like a series of how to do PyGame. It's going to be tutorials that you guys ask me for and also tutorials that I see a need for. So probably one of my upcoming videos will be how to make a tile map, how to make it efficiently, and maybe another one would be how to create save games, maybe how to create a menu, because these are tutorials that I don't see a lot of people making that I feel like I can contribute to the community with. So this first episode is just going to be introduction to PyGame, just because I want to establish, what I'm doing, and I want to let you guys know how I do it. So this is going to be, I'm going to type the code on the screen. I encourage you to type along with me as I write it, but as I type it out, I'm going to say why I'm doing exactly what I'm doing and why other ways of doing it are incorrect, or maybe not incorrect, but bad form. So there are a lot of things that when I first started programming that I was taught in tutorials that really set me up poorly. So yeah. I'm also thinking of going through some of my old programs and breaking them down and showing you guys how different parts work. I'd be happy to do that. So with that, let's get started. I'm using PyCharm Community Edition. It's a great editor for Windows. On Linux, I use Vim and the command line, just because I don't know, I'm a sadist. No, I've just gotten so used to it, and it's fast, loads up super quickly, so that's why I use it on that. But on Windows is where my capture software is, so that's why I'm there on that now. So we're gonna start out, import PyGame, super simple. We're not going to do from pygame.locals import asterisks. This is very, very bad form. First of all, just importing asterisks in general is bad because you're importing a lot of things that you don't want. So for those of you who don't know, pygame.locals is a package which contains a lot of useful things like full screen, quit, key down, k underscore, all of these. So these are under the constants. But the thing is, you're not going to use all of them at a time. You're not going to use half of them at a time. You're going to use like 5 of them. So it's bad form to do an asterisk import, and especially in this case, there's a lot of stuff that you would be importing that you don't need. So I'm going to avoid that, but we are going to create a function called run. It's always a good idea to put all of your code inside of a function except for your import statements and global variables, but I use very few global variables, just because they can get messy. You can end up with a lot of variables that you don't know what they do anymore. So, but as we go through this, what I am going to do is I'm going to comment. This is because it's an extremely important thing to do, and you're not going to want to do it after you've just written 1,000 lines of code. So it's a good habit to get into to do it as you are typing. So holds the main functionality of the program, initializes the screen, handles the main game loop, and I think that'll be good for there. Pygame.init. I think it's kind of a toss-up to go between putting it outside and inside of the function. I generally go for inside of the function because I think that outside the function is reserved for importing and creating more functions or classes. So I generally don't put pygame.init in outside of the function, but it's not terrible if you do. Screen size equals 640 by 480. Just standard size screen equals pygame.display.set mode screen size. So this is just going to create a window based on the size of the screen we establish below. Next we're just going to create the main loop. So we're going to say done equals false while not done. So a lot of tutorials will tell you to do the while true, and then just if the user wants to exit, just run break. So that works, but creating an infinite loop, it's just a bad idea. You almost never want to run an infinite loop. So that's why if we do while not done, if we set done equal to true, then it's basically the same thing, but we don't hard break out of the loop. So it's something we want to avoid. So we'll just go keep that in mind. We'll say for event in pygame.get if event.type equals pygame.quit done equals true. For those of you who are wondering why I put pygame dot before this, if you've seen other videos and they just say quit, that's because they imported from locals, and like I said, this is a low price to pay for keeping that stuff unimported. So here we said done equal to true, so set it to true. We'll continue to go through the rest of the program. Once we're done there, we can hit quit. It'll go back through and it'll say, well, not done. Well, done will be true, so then it'll just exit the loop. If you needed to exit right there, you can, continue or break, but generally it's not going to be an issue. I've never needed to put a break statement there. Yeah, so if event.type equals pygame.keyDown, if event.key equals pygame.k_escape, done equals true. So this just says if we hit the escape key, then it'll also close out of our window. This is really nice. It's good to put this in here first, because if we set this to pygame.fullscreen, then sorry, then there's not going to be an X button if it's full screen. So you always want to have multiple ways to close a window so that you don't get stuck. Next we're going to screen.fill 0, 0, 0. Just fill the screen with black. And before I forget, go up here, main game loop, handles events from the player, checks to see if they are done playing. Right. Then we're going to do pygame.display.update, and if this isn't, if you don't run this, you're not going to see anything, and you're not going to know why, because it'll look like everything else is right. This basically just tells the computer, hey, we drew something, can you show us, what the screen looks like now? They'll be like, oh, yeah, sure, because it'll talk back to you. And then here, pygame.quit. So this is different than the quit up here. This is a variable. So it's not a function. This is a function. It'll basically wrap up everything you've done with Pygame and close it neatly. So it's a good. You want to keep that in there. So now we're going to do if double underscore name double underscore equals quotation double underscore main double underscore quotation. This just says if this file is directly opened by the user, so let's say they double clicked on the file, or it was called in with the command line, then do whatever's in this block of code. So in this case it'll be run. It'll run our program. However, if this file is called by another program, or if this is called by if it's imported or anything like that, don't do this. So that's really nice, because if this file were to get imported by another PyGame project while that PyGame project is running, this will override its screen, and it'll create a new screen, and it'll basically break the other program. So this is important. You want to put this in every file that has something that should run whenever you open it. So that's something to keep in mind. Handle destruction / cleanup. Alright. So we got that. It's pretty explanatory. Go run. There we go. So we got our window here. If we hit the escape key, or if we hit the X, it'll close. If we hit the escape key, it'll close. If you want to set the caption, pygame.display.setCaption. Introduction to PyGame. Hello, YouTube. So if we run that, you can see the captions up here. Hit the X button, hit the escape key. Works nicely. You know what everything does, because the comments, I mean, if you're experienced, you know, I mean, I know what all these things do. I know that, you know, this creates a window. I know that this is the main function. But if you get into this habit, when you start writing more and more complex code, you're going to thank yourself later. Currently, the Villager Sim video on my channel, we're going through and we're updating that, but we have to go through and clean up all the code because we didn't write any comments. We didn't, we didn't keep this nice hierarchical idea in mind, so it's just a mess. We don't know it's hard to tell what everything does. So if you go to the GitHub page for that, then you can see us start to work on that. But yeah, it's not fun, so I just really wish that we had done this earlier. And you're going to thank yourself later. So with that, I'm going to leave you guys. If you, real quick, I'll show you how to run this if you're using Unix. This is Windows PowerShell, but I've gotten it to run off Unix commands by installing Git. So we'll do a code YouTube. Right, so if I check this, I see that the file's here. Just run Python introduction to PyGame.py. Yep, runs just the same. That's how you'll run it in your terminal. Yeah. So pretty simple. If you guys have any suggestions for videos, if you want to see something, if you have any suggestions for how I can make this better, or if I made a mistake, I want to know. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.